All right, welcome live with the Jive. Um, Seems like it's been a little bit since we've put one of these together. Been some time that for one reason or another we just hadn't put this out. So I'm glad to have y'all on here today, and we got a special guest here today that Corley Moore, which is kind of funny that he spent his whole week in my neck of the woods, and I've been up here in Columbia. So I'm coming to you live from the conference room at the Academy. Corley, welcome aboard.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. It's good to be here. I'm excited to be on the Jive with you, Will.
Yeah, did you have a good time down in Beaufort?
Always. South Carolina is Rick's my handler when I show up there usually. I didn't get to see Rick this time, but South Carolina is always fun. You guys got it going on.
Yeah, and so you told me you got to eat a little seafood, so we treated you all right.
Always. Always.
Yep. So Corley was down there teaching. What class were you teaching on there, Corley?
Down there, we started off with the nine L's. We did the nine
Okay,
L's in the morning, and then we did reflexive readiness, which is creating a mindset of preparedness in the afternoon.
good deal. Good crowd.
They were plugged in, asking questions. There was a mixture of the people in the area. Burton hosted, but there was people from around the surrounding areas, Hardyville, and I'd rattle off names, but I'd get them wrong, I'm sure.
Well, you did pretty good with that. I mean,
Still,
everybody doesn't get to see Hardyville, but that's up and coming. Hardyville is.
gotcha.
Um, yeah, I know the guys were excited about having you there, and then when I saw when you were coming, I was like, oh crap, I'm in a class,
Yeah,
so
you're up in
I
Columbia.
missed you. And yeah, so I'm up in Columbia, missed it. So if you would, I'm sure that most of our people watching, tuning in here know you and probably have had a class from you time to time. But if you could just tell me a little bit about your background and kind of where your career is, and then we'll get into what you're doing now.
Well, 28-year firefighter. First of all, I'll start by saying I'm a father first, husband first, father second. I got to get my priorities. Husband first, father second, grandfather, brand new grandfather. Just that we're a year into being grandfathers tomorrow. In fact,
There you
his
go.
1 year birthday. So super excited about that. Changed our lives completely. It's amazing. And then 28-year firefighter. Was not on my bingo card, but I did retire this summer. And so June 30th was my last shift, or May 30th. June 1st was my last or official retirement date. And so this is a new chapter for me, being retired from the department. I'm still not retired from the fire service, but absolutely figuring that out as I move forward. But other than that, I host a podcast. I love to write books on firefighting leadership. That's what I do.
Well, it's funny because my official retire date was April, and I'm still on the job, so I didn't go out in April. Um, yeah, it's hard to walk away from.
Oh, there's
You
no
put
doubt.
so much into it.
I tell people if I quit cold turkey, there's no way I'd be back at a volunteer place or something. I'd find a job again. But because I'm so heavily involved, like traveling to South Carolina and teaching firefighters who are plugged in and wanting to get better, that I'm not. It's a much easier transition to step off the rigs, if that makes sense.
Well, and so I told you before that I had the pleasure of having your wife on the podcast, and then I had her in the booth when they were teaching at the conference,
Right on.
which I had a blast with both of them. The program that she teaches is awesome. But yeah, the fact that y'all go around, teaching kind of in the same places together is a pretty cool thing. You
No,
don't
it's
see that
unique.
much.
It is unique, and I always tell people she's better at it than I am. She's much better at it than I am, and she's better
That's what I've
looking.
heard.
So,
That's what I've
so
heard.
it's the truth.
um, yeah, but I was thinking that you're gonna have to get some kind of ID card. I mean, you were in South Carolina so much. I mean, you almost have residence.
Some form of I belong type deal
That's right.
that I'm allowed to hang out.
Um,
I just got to get the lingo down and understand the geography better too. But yeah,
all right. So 28 years where?
more fire department, no relation,
More
even
fun.
though it is my last name. All of the same department, same city. I lived in the city, but it was not. My family actually looked into it at one point. We were like, let's find out if we have some old money or maybe we own half the town or something. But no such luck. It was just happened to be the same as our last name. City of Moore Fire Department.
So they named y'all after the town, not the town after y'all.
Basically, I just tell people my name's on all the fire trucks. So that's what I just
All
tell
right. So
people.
everybody understands where's more located.
It is a suburb of Oklahoma City. Smack dab, if you know Oklahoma at all, it looks like the panhandle looks like a pot. Smack dab in the middle of the pot part. And that's Oklahoma City. And the Moore is the suburb. It's kind of smashed. If you know the Sooners, most people know Boomer Sooner. That's the college town to the south of us, Norman. So we're between Oklahoma City and Norman. That's all we touch. That's our two auto aid cities. And I spent
Yeah.
28
So
years there on the rigs, retired as a battalion chief, went out as a battalion chief commander of the green shift, the C shift. Amazing shift.
the amazing shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell anybody that I get a chance to talk to. Oklahoma City is one of my favorite cities in the country.
Oh, really? I
Um,
know. I
yeah,
mean, my son's on the job there. So if you're talking about the fire department, I agree with you 100%. Talking about the city itself, I am proud of my city. We live in Oklahoma City now and love the city. Love the city.
yeah. What they did with the Riverwalk and all that area down there with the Mickey Mantle Bar and restaurant and all that, super cool.
No, it is a very
Um,
cool place to visit. It's they kept the history of the Bricktown area and all the old factories,
mhm.
but they incorporated it into modernizing it, and making it a fun place to visit.
And for anybody who ever travels in there, I think one of the best memorials ever put together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um,
It's powerful. And if you come to
so
Oklahoma City and you're on the job, you need to make a point. If you travel through, you need to make a point. If that's the only thing you do, visit the memorial. And
yeah,
so,
because I went through there years ago and took a class at Oklahoma City, and it just so happens that a holiday fell in the class, so we couldn't have class that holiday. But whoever scheduled it didn't know. So
ah,
one of the guys from Oklahoma City that responded to the mural building gave us a tour, a personal tour,
oh
and it was
wow,
the first time he had ever been in the museum. So it
oh
was a special
wow,
time.
oh I can only imagine. Oh, yeah, that's special.
Yeah, it
They
was,
no
and
a lot of what they built at the Oklahoma City Memorial they incorporated into the 9/11 Memorial. Like it was an inspiration for when they built the 9/11 Memorial in New York City. And so at
yeah,
least
and
that's what I've heard. So I don't want to speak like but yes.
yeah, and there's a couple of morals you go to that is just nobody makes a peep, and when
Yeah.
you're standing on by that reflective pond and you've got 901 on one side, 902 on the other, and you get to those small chairs, it is definitely silent.
No, it is solemn. It is a solemn, respectful area, and the weight of it, you can feel the weight of it, and the chain.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. The 901, the
and
902. Yeah.
yeah, and for all the the guys that love all the youth art, that's kind of the birthplace.
Hmm.
The decisions y'all made that day, they made that day deciding on how we're going to do things, kind of transcended what USAR is not today, and
No,
they
it's
had to make it on
definitely
the fly.
yeah. No,
Um,
it's a powerful place. If you ever come through Oklahoma City, you have to visit it.
yeah, and then somewhere in Oklahoma there's a bar where they ride bulls too. I've been there.
There's a lot of those. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm talking indoors. Like you gotta cover your drink or you're gonna get dirt in it.
no, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Now, did you ride any bulls?
I've never was a rodeo guy. So
Gotcha. So great career at Moore. At what point in your career did you think you'd be writing books?
I don't know if I ever thought I'd write like fire service leadership books specifically. Now I love to write. So ever since I was a kid, I love to write. I'm a passionate writer. I always thought I would write like a bestseller a fiction book that got turned into an action movie or something.
I got
You
you.
know. So, but I love to write. Writing is a passion of mine. But I never thought I would write nonfiction or motivational, inspirational, psychologically based human motivation leadership style books. I never thought that would be something I would get into. But here, yeah, you grow up.
Yeah. Here you are several books in.
Yes, and more on the way. I'm passionate about the ones that are coming, so I'm super excited. But
Um, yeah, so I would imagine it kind of happened where you're heavily involved in training and you're developing programs, and somebody even probably has to prod you. You need to be thinking about turning this into a book. Is that kind of how it happened for you?
honestly, the nine L's. The first book was called Challenge Your Leadership, and the first book was I wanted to write a book because no firefighters don't like to read. Like as a rule, I'm not saying there aren't firefighters out there that read. Please don't take me wrong, but generally speaking, firefighters like to break stuff and do stuff, and they're built for action. And reading is not that. And so I wanted to write a book that was designed for, and it's a terrible business plan. So understand this. I wanted to write a book for people that don't like to read. And so I wrote Challenger Leadership, and it was honestly, it was each page is just 200 words on a leadership topic. So it's a really short little bit on a leadership topic. And you read that page, and then the second page is the challenge of incorporating that into your life. And so there's 100 challenges in the book. And that was the original book that I wrote. And again, writing books aimed at people that don't like to read is not a good plan. So, it's been well received, well accepted. That was the first one. The
Well,
second
and
one,
and I
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think as I view it, it seems that books are making a little bit of a comeback.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think they are.
So
People are recognizing the need for keeping your brain, the neuroplasticity of your brain on, keeping it, just exercising it. People are recognizing the need for it.
yeah, I think that we spent a long time where everybody's so dived into their phone that I think people are realizing that that's not a good thing.
Oh no. Yeah.
That I'm always glued into this thing and I'm social media and because I'm seeing talking to more and more people and saying, look, I've completely cut all social media off my phone because they realize when they're getting those screen reports at the end of the week how much time they're spending just dialed into that phone and not even observing what's going around them, whether it be
No,
family, whether it be kids. It's just
no, you can
an
you can
issue.
doom scroll. You can doom scroll your whole life away and not even realize it because it's designed to hold your attention. It's designed to give you that dopamine hit. It's designed to limbic hijack your brain, and that's what it's very good at it. It is. It's there's people that make billions and trillions of dollars off of it. So it's good at what it does.
So it sounds like you had to not only adapt your books when you wrote them to because of attention spans that people couldn't commit to a lot of information, not just firefighters in general, because most of us write with crayons, but that it's you got to have something that's quick hitting and to kind of reel them in.
Right. No, and I'm a firm believer in if you've taken any of my classes, the people are aware KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I try to keep things as simple as I can. And I firmly believe in the Feynman technique, and I talk about it in the 9 L's. And the guys, Burton, they heard all about it and like, oh, please quit talking about it. But I try to incorporate the Feynman technique into my writing, which is if you can't explain it to an 8 or 9 or 10 year old, then you don't understand it. And so I really do aim for a very simplistic explanation so that everybody can understand it. And that's a goal I aim for in my teaching, in my writing. And I don't say it was because of the social media, although I think it's helped it because of the social media, if that makes sense.
Well, and I think that a lot of people, when they sit down to write, think they have to write at a certain level because now I'm putting it in a book. This is going to be a book,
Right.
and they usually end up writing above their audience of what your target is.
Oh, absolutely. And you think
So
you have to
it's
sound
very
smart,
uninteresting.
sound smarter than you are. You don't want to come across. I read. I don't know how true this is, so don't. It's a social media factoid. But one of the people I follow, Alex Hermosi, is soon. I don't know how rich he is. He's a really rich dude that puts out content, but he writes books that are really break down complex business models and ideas, and he writes at a fifth grade level. And he says he writes at a fifth grade level because that's what the average American reads at. And so if he writes above that, he's actually writing over their heads. But no one who can read at like a college level gets mad when they read something at a fifth grade level. They just read through it, blast through it even faster. He says, so if
Right.
you write it above that, you're wasting your energy. And that's always kind of stuck with me because I'm like, oh, okay. And it's not like I'm saying I'm trying to write to fifth grade level, but I try to keep it as simple as I can. Like I am explaining it to a young child and they can understand it.
Yeah, I think what you said, you're ready at the firefighter level, which is fifth
It's
grade. We get it.
at least at a trucky level, right?
Yeah,
If you
truckee
can,
level, at a truckee level.
if you can get them to stop eating the crayons, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, so that's awesome, and um, yeah, I'm glad to see the success in the books and real interested in your 9 L's and what is and I don't want to mess up your business plan because you put out 9 L's, but you also made it available PDF. Isn't that true?
The 9 L's, anybody can have the class in a PDF form. Absolutely. The slides and
Yeah,
everything. Absolutely.
yeah.
No, I would give away the whole PowerPoint presentation. The biggest thing is that if you've taken my class, you know that the slides, I don't know if they make a lot of sense without me explaining what they're supposed to mean. So
Right, right,
if you've
right.
taken because there's not a lot of bullet points, there's not a lot of reading. It's a lot of pictures that go along with what I'm talking about. But yeah, anybody can have the PDF that emails me. I'll give them the slides. I don't know how much sense they make. Now, maybe if you went along with the book, maybe. But the class came first. I actually built a class for my company officers back in Moore, and I built the class and taught it many times before I wrote the book. And I think that's one reason why the book has been so well received is because the class was very visual and it was very, based on stories that I could relate to the audience. And the book version of that was just how do I take this visual thing and explain it in a written form and keep the stories. And I think that's one of the reasons it's done so well is because it is simple stories and trying to translate visual into the written word, and it works pretty good. It worked pretty good. So,
Well, and I guess what I was kind of leading to and what I want to point out is that in my mind and what I've noticed is that there's two types of people to get into the instructor or book writing or the national kind of game. You know, there's ones that really want to elevate themselves, and there's others that just want to give back. And I've always seen you as a guy that just wants to give back.
oh, I appreciate it.
Um,
That's a huge compliment. So thank you, because I don't know what I'd say if you said I was the other one. But
well,
thank you.
and you're around to enough conferences, and you know the guys that I'm talking about
Oh, absolutely.
that that are always trying to find that niche and okay, how can I profit from this?
Hmm.
Not they're not looking at how can I benefit the fire service. And I think your programs always say, okay, what can I provide that's going to make people better to ultimately serve their community better?
No,
And so
bringing value to the fire service is, I don't want to call it a business plan, but it is my business model. If you can bring value to the fire service, man, everybody wins. The citizens, the the firefighters, the fire departments, everybody wins. And Jared Van Eck actually chiming in here, and Van Eck said this book of search is available as a PDF, and that may be part of what we're talking about because
oh yeah,
the book of search is 100% available as a PDF, 100% free to the fire service. uh, I would love to take credit for it. I would, but it's not me. There was 44 authors, wrote 42 articles. Everybody from Mike Lombardo, and I don't want to say names because Mike Lombardo, Scott
yeah,
Thompson,
yeah,
and
44 is hard to keep track of.
40, but no, but you would know everybody's name because they're
Mhm.
all heavy hitters in the fire service, and every one of them wrote an article focused around search, and they all donated it, 100% donated their work, and said here, and we took that and made the PDF, and the PDF is free. Anybody can download. Go to firehousevigilance.com today. You can download it, have your own copy. I think it's 278 pages. Don't quote me on that. The artists, Paul Combs made the cover. He donated his cover. He donated his artwork. There's no one greater than Paul Combs as far as an artist goes. Amber Christian did the interior illustrations, and then there was three separate photographers who gave their entire photo library and said, "Here, use these photos to make the book better as far as how it looks." Again, I would love to take credit for it. It was not me. It was the fire service made that book, made it amazing for the fire service, and it's free. Now, if you want to buy an Amazon copy, you can go to Amazon. You can buy a hardback. I usually have it sitting here, but it's on my bookshelf. You can buy a hardback version that's awesome. Like it's
It
great.
is.
You want to get a copy and it's awesome. And 100% of the money from that, if you buy it on Amazon, 100% of the profits, because Amazon takes their cut. There's not much I can do about that. But 100% of the profits after Amazon's cut goes to Firefighter Rescue Survey. So that'll be my little diatribe on that. But I wanted to, yeah, Jared, thank you for reminding me about it.
Well, and uh, I think that's good for anybody in the fire service to buy it. Go ahead and buy the book. The money's going to a great cause.
Great cause.
Um,
And the book
and
is really
it's a
cool.
good book. It's a
Yeah.
good book. And I think that and all the way it's put together, um, so it sets it up so it's not such a long read in between. You get this information here from this guy here, and it's good information.
No, each one's
And,
there are a couple long articles, but most of the articles are around the 1,000 word mark, and so
mhm.
it's like I said, I'm very proud of it.
So
And
the
just
first,
to go ahead, just to
I was
springboard off of that, go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the people that brought it to me. The first thing that they showed me was a couple of my guys are in some of the photos.
No, that's awesome, man. I think there was and Samantha Worthy. She was the photographer that donated. She did a lot of from Carolina Fire Days. Some of the photos, a bunch of the photos came from Carolina Fire Days, and
Yeah.
so that's pretty cool. Yeah,
And I
South.
interrupted you. What were you about to say?
Oh, work of search. Work of search. It's the follow up to the book of search. It's, in fact, the meeting I had before I came on here tonight, we were going over the actual finalizing the final PDF to submit it to Amazon so people could download the work of search. And the work of search is all the drills. All the drills. I think there's around 28 different drills, all focused on search, and it's going to be phenomenal. And so we're almost ready to release that.
And so, how long before folks can get that? Do you think?
Man, if everything goes good, if we get the rest of the edits put in and we get it submitted to Amazon and Amazon doesn't kick it back for any reason, which I'm not anticipating, I think that by right at the first week of December, it should be available. We're really trying hard to get it out so people can get it as a Christmas gift for like their cruise and things like that. Because without boring you with the details, we wanted something that you could get cheap off Amazon. So it's paperback, it's black and white, it's as low as the cost that we can get. So we're keeping the cost under $20. But you can roll it up, it's paperback. You can stuff it in your gear boot, your gear bag. You can take it down to the drill ground. You can flip through it. If it gets wet, you're not ruining your book of search. It's just the drills. And it's designed, I don't want to say disposable, but it's designed to be replaceable, and you don't have to take care of it like a collectible hardback, like the book of search is for some, as you collect signatures and things like that.
So what you build is a field guide almost.
Yeah, that's what it's for. It's to go down to the drill yard and guide you in and you can also smash.
Awesome. Now, if what is the process when you're writing a book like that? You got just take nine L's.
Okay.
What is the time frame you're looking at before you start? You already had it put together is a training program, but once you sit down to write a book, what's the time frame there?
That's a great question. That's a great question because my process has evolved over the last, I would say, 6 years. I used to be a very outline-based guy, and I would outline, and then a chapter, one heading of a outline would become a chapter, and then the bullet points under it would become the sections of that chapter. But as I've evolved, I think that I never stop writing, and I don't. This sounds weird, but it's like today, I'm working on this next book that's coming, and I don't know when the book's going to come. So I say next book that's coming. It's just percolating in my brain. It's kind of boiling, and so I'm constantly adding. And it's like I don't know if you can see this. This is a collection of well, you can see all these papers, and there's probably 500 pieces of paper here. This is nothing but problems submitted by firefighters, real problems submitted by firefighters. And so, like today, I went live on the Discord with the vigilantes and just talked to them about how would you resolve this problem. And we went through we only got through like three of them because we had such good discussion about them. But and the whole point of the book is going to be how to have good conflict resolution and how to have confrontations in the fire service based around these problems. And the further I dig into these problems, the more I realize, man, there's not that many issues. There's a ton of problems, but they all seem to stem from the same five root problems. And I'm working on getting that like smoothed out and ironed out. So when I say I'm always writing, when I actually go to write the book, it'll probably take me like, I don't know, 3 to 6 months to write the actual book, but I'll have been working on it for like 4 or 5 years, just cooking in my
Right.
brain. So the actual physical writing part goes really fast once it's done cooking. And so it kind of just vomits out into the computer screen.
Well, so what I was thinking is an author that you have to write it fast enough that it's relevant
Oh yeah,
and still current. Now, leadership things I think are a little easier.
absolutely. I was
But
going to
as
say that
technology,
tactics is a
yeah,
different animal. And so I don't dig into tactics as much for that reason because you do need to stay current. And I think UL FSRI and a lot of the science-based stuff is the better animal for tackling that than me as a fiction or a nonfiction writer.
well, everything goes in cycles. So I guess if you hold your information long enough, it's going to
It'll
come
come
right
back
back
around.
and it'll be
Come right back
relevant
around.
again.
There you go. There you go. No, and but I do want to stay in my lane immensely as an instructor and as a writer because I'm from Oklahoma. Like we have no basements in Oklahoma. Now I know as I talked to the guys in Burton, this last week, they said we got no basements here either. I got no because my city basically was built after 1960. We got no balloon frame. So I'm not going to face any basements. I'm going to see no balloon frame. And 70% of my city is residential, 1,000 square foot, 1,200 square foot houses. And so, listen, I love tactics. I'll talk tactics with anybody. I'll discuss tactics. I'm confident in my tactics. I love them. But I'm not going to tell you how to fight fire where you have completely different staffing, response model, challenges, building construction, all of it. So, anyway,
Yeah. So the boys in Burton were lying. We do have basements. They're just swimming pools.
that's what someone did say that. We call them swimming pools.
That's right. Yeah,
Uh,
down there on the coast, if you dig down 6 feet, you found water.
you get water. No, I have no doubt about it because there was a lot of water there.
Yeah, I thought in Oklahoma y'all would have to have some basements to hide in during the tornadoes.
Now we do have a lot of storm cellars, storm shelters, but storm shelters are not a basement at all. Like they exist. You got to sweep them out for the get the brown recluses out of them, get the cobwebs out of them, so you can get down into them during storm season. But if it rains heavy enough, they just pop out of the ground.
I got you.
So
Got you. Um, what motivated you to start 9Ls when you first started working that program for your guys?
it was honestly the lack of officer development organizationally, systemically that existed in the fire service at the time, like across the board. It's gotten a lot better across the board, across the country as I've traveled. Is as I think the fire service in general, not just me, but the fire service started recognizing we are not setting these people up for success. You know, they strictly learn from whoever they served under, and if they didn't learn from someone good, all they got was a I won't be like this guy. I guess I'll figure it out on my own. And that was the original thing was what can I do to set my people up for success that were going to come after me? That was my initial kind of okay, these are the things I figured out on my own that worked. These are the things I figured out on my own that definitely did not work. And these are the things I've read about and I can't say that I've incorporated them. And these are the things I've learned from people who uh, I consider mentors. So, and that's where
Well,
it came from was
yeah, I think that's the real challenge. Is that I think we have always done a great job of teaching strategy and tactics, and it's like 5% of what we do. Now,
right.
is it the most important 5%? Probably, and that's what we're going to train on, and that's what we're going to prepare for. But 95% of the time, we're dealing with people and trying to lead and trying to do those things. And for a long, long time, we just missed the boat.
No, absolutely. And this is one thing that I love to point out is 95% of our problems come from the firehouse, not the fire ground. And we're really good on the fire ground. That doesn't mean there's not tons of room for improvement. Don't take me wrong. But the fire ground is not where our issues come from. Typically speaking, it's the firehouse. And when you take care of the firehouse problems, the smooth factor on the fire ground tends to climb. Tends to climb. When you take care of the firehouse issues, the smooth factor goes way up on the fire ground.
Well, and I know you've heard it too, and I hear it on my career that you have a dysfunctional crew, and they'll say, "Oh, but when the tones drop, we come together." Do
Oh,
you? Do you really? Probably
yeah.
not.
Well, I don't know if we come together, but we set it aside, and it's kind of like, how do you, like, you can pick on your little brother all day long, but if someone else comes along and picks on your little brother, they better watch out, because that's your little brother. Only you pick on him. And that's kind of the way the fire service is when the calls come, we set aside our differences for that brief time, but hell, as soon as we get back on the rig and heading back home, it may be right back to where we were. And that's not healthy. It's not healthy. And it's not, the smooth factor is not as good as it could be when we're operating like that.
So it's been my experience that even though we're not fighting on scene, we're not arguing on scene, we're not disagreeing on scene, but in all that time that we're not on scene, we're not a unit either. So we're not nowhere near as efficient or smooth because we're not training together like we should, or not getting along
Absolutely.
in training like we should.
Absolutely.
So we're missing all those things that make unit cohesion, that make you solid on scene.
No,
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
there's a lot of crews that get by, but unless you're tight in the house, it's hard to be good,
Oh, I
much
think,
less
yeah,
great.
again, man, they're so intertwined one with the other. And that doesn't mean you can't be so individually good but I think that's an outlier for a crew to be individually good and then and how you are around the firehouse is going to directly relate to your performance on the fire ground.
Absolutely.
And so anything else besides that is a unicorn exception. And I trust me, if you think you're that, you're not.
Well, so one of the points I always make, especially to the younger guys or younger officers, when they have a great crew and everything's going good, I said, enjoy it while it lasts because it's short lived. Because they're
You
going to
can
take it
count
from
on
you.
change. You can
Yeah,
count
they're going
on
to take it from
change.
you. Yeah,
And
either somebody's going to promote or they're going to say, "Oh man, they're doing such a great job on here. We're going to spread this around to infect others," and that never happens. They just make more crews dysfunctional.
well, the natural progression of things, hopefully if you're a good company officer, you're investing in your people and you're showing them the right way and you're setting them up and empowering them and building them up and whatever level we're talking about. I usually talk about company officers. But if you're a good battalion chief and you're setting your company officers up for success and setting the people up who take care of the people up for success, because that's your job. All the way up to fire chief. Your job is to take care of the people that take care of the people that take care of the people that take care of the actual public. But if you do it right, the natural progression is those people will promote and go and hopefully have an impact at their level at the next station. Now, if it's where they say, "Hey, you guys are doing great. We're going to break you up to spread this around." That when it's forced on you, that's usually not a good. I'm not saying it can't. I've never I've never seen it work out in the way where they say, "Hey, we're going to spread this goodness around."
Well, it's a little bit like communism. Theoretically, it makes sense. Practical application does not.
No, yeah, 100%. And so,
But
uh,
what you were talking about, taking care of the guys and take care of the guys, take care of the guys, falls right into what you talk about is high performance culture. You
absolutely.
know, building that culture and how that works. Because normally, what happens in the fire service, even then when they had those bad leaders and the guy hates that bad leader, although you hope that they take those bad traits and say, I'm never going to be like that when I get there. What usually happens is they're almost a mirror image when they get there.
No, like promotes like. I think that's Anthony
Yeah.
Castros that says it. Like promotes like. And so they say, "No, you're like me, you get promoted." And I know it's not a just a you get to pick it, but what happens is systemically over time, the systems that promote people start rewarding the behavior that is evaluated. And who picks what is evaluated is the people in charge. And this is why I tell everybody all the time, man, promote. It's so important that you promote. Not just for your own career, not just for the monetary reasons, not for your pension, not for any of those reasons. It's because you are affecting what rules are going to be in place to decide who promotes later. You're going to be setting the vision and the values for the future. It's not just about you.
And yeah, because, when you start talking about your circle of influence, the further you can get up that chain, the more your influence is going to be. And I talk about, rank is going to be your weakest form of leadership, but it is a form of leadership. And
Oh
then you
yeah.
build from there. Then you build from there, and then your personnel will then give you the permission to lead, and you can get past that. But it will widen your circle of influence if you really want to make a difference.
No, and one of the big distinctions I make all the time when I'm talking in my classes is you have your influence and leadership is influence. You can have massive influence without any rank. And we've all known a backstep firefighter who had tons of influence in an organization. And we've seen a bad chief who had very little influence, but he had a ton of rank. But when I talk about it is I use the term influence quite a bit, but I like to talk about total impact because your total impact on the organization is your influence multiplied by your rank. And so even if you have a tiny amount of influence, even if you're a terrible leader who has terrible relationships with all your people, but you're the chief of department, you multiply it, that's a huge impact on the organization. Now, it's even better if you have tons of influence and the rest. That's the dream. That's the all obviously. But what I see happening is those people with a ton of influence, they don't like to promote. And they company officer is the greatest position in the fire service. I'll argue that with almost anybody. And I have lots of data to back it up. Uh, ex- but I used to ask the question of everybody that came on the show, what's the best position in the fire service? 75% of them said the scrap or said the company officer. Now there's other people that said other things, but 75% said company officer. So my theory on it is this. When you're a company officer, your sphere of control is 3 to 7 with 5 being optimal. Everybody you're in charge of is in your direct span of control. And then when you promote a level and you go to the next step up, let's say it's battalion chief, your span of control doesn't change, but the people you're responsible for just grew by a factor of 5, usually 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. You're still responsible for all of them, but your sphere of your span of control and where you can spend your energy is didn't change. When you go up another level besides that, whether it's district or up to the whatever the deputy or all the way up to fire chief, your span of control still doesn't change, but the amount you're responsible for is massive. So it's super enjoyable to be a company officer because everything you do directs what you're directly responsible for. Whereas you got to start looking and living by proxy through and understanding where to leverage your relationships the farther up you go. So it's enjoyable to be a company officer. It is. And when you step up that level, a lot of people are like, why would I want that headache? Because it's important. That's why your total impact is matters. And if you want to affect the direction of your organization, it matters. So anyway, sorry, you got me on a rant. I'm sorry.
Oh man, I'm good with that because I would argue that the best spot is riding backwards.
I get that.
Failover,
I get
Yeah,
that a
very
lot.
little responsibility. You get there, you do your job. You don't got to worry about anything else. You mop when it's time to mop. You pull a hose when it's time to pull the hose.
And that was
But
easily the number two answer that I collected. Easily the number two answer I collected. Only
and the
one
higher you
person.
go,
Go ahead.
yeah, the higher you get up, the more you look back at, man, I had it made riding backwards.
Right, just you,
Um,
having the knob on a good job, and that
oh
was
my
it,
gosh.
man. Yeah, I can't
But
argue with that.
yeah, the most critical is definitely company officer.
Oh,
There's
more
no more important role for your organization on the direction you're going, what you're providing to the citizens than the company officer. And I also think it's the hardest because you're pleasing up and down.
oh,
And
you are stuck in that middle management position. Absolutely.
now, what the good thing about it though is you get a direct impact on who's providing the service, and you're part of that. The further you go up the chain, what you said, captain, battalion chief, deputy chief, whatever. Now you're having to rely working through
Oh
others
yeah. Oh
to
yeah.
meet the mission, which is a
Yeah.
lot harder.
Oh, much
A lot.
harder. Much harder. And you don't
Um,
and it doesn't water down your influence because it's just as important, but it's so much harder to affect that change. It takes like twice the effort for half the results, is what it feels like.
well, and so to me, the further you get away from actually providing the level of service, the further you get away from that, the less enjoyable the fire service is. When you're out there and you're serving the people and you get direct contact with the people you're serving, you don't forget your purpose. You see it every day.
Much more rewarding. Yeah. No, I can see
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So
I can
as
see
you
it
start getting, yeah,
systemically.
as
Just
you get
yeah,
through the
just
layers, and now I'm deputy chief, you're looking at, and only thing coming to you is problems,
right.
issues.
Yeah.
Whether it be we got a toilet stopped up or a station bad or whatever, nobody really comes to you with good news. And a company officer, you really out there getting it done, So I agree with you. I mean, no more enjoy than the company officer. And my problem is that you never know the good old days until they're past. So a lot of
Oh
guys,
yeah. Oh yeah. You don't know
and
what
in
you
the fire
had
service,
until
we're
it's
always
gone.
dangling that carrot. Oh, now you're a lieutenant. This is what you need to do to be captain. Oh, you're captain. This is what you need to move up. And we don't give guys time to be great where they're at or to enjoy where they're at.
Enjoy it.
Um,
Yeah. No,
and
it's a part of the problem, especially with our, it's different everywhere, but there is a trend of, the Vietnam guys all retired mid 90s, and then the guys that replaced them all kind of retired in the teens that just passed. And, it goes in these cycles. And right now across the country, we're in this massive turnover cycle of the fire service becoming young. It's becoming very young, not everywhere. And I know that every place is a different timeline, but overall, it's a very young. And so a lot of people are being forced to promote. I don't want to say before they're ready, but definitely before they'd ideally would want to with the experience.
before what we would say is seasoned.
Yeah, absolutely. But without proper, I don't say proper. That's not the right word. But without seasoning, though, without seasoning.
Yeah, so it's so those guys that where it was a little slower to promote, they got experience and a little time. Like you said, now that the guys are promoting younger. But what is your experience in more before you retired out of the young guys you're getting in? Because I hear a lot every generation. I'm gonna hear about these young guys coming in. They just ain't like us.
Oh, I think that I've said this many times, but I think that back in 19 like 11, 1912, the older generation was pointing at the young people going, "Man, this new generation's so soft. They're so weak." And that, of course ended up being the greatest generation that went through the Depression and fought World War II and
Sure.
saved, and I think that that's just part of it is like the young generation coming in now. My son is in the fire service. He's 25. He's on Oklahoma City and very proud of him. But but his sense of humor and me, I don't get it. Like I'm lucky I have him because he kind of kept me enough in touch with the younger guys that I could understand a little bit. But like 6'7" and all this other weird stuff that goes on, I
Yeah,
don't
I
get it.
don't get
I
that.
don't understand it. But I know that's what they said about me in '97 when I hired on, and I was making jokes and they were just looking at me like, what, who the hell is this kid and what is this going on? So I think that's just the natural part of it. Now, the thing that I think we all have in common is that firefighters attract the best of society. I really believe this. And we get the young people that want to make a difference. I think that's something. Now, not every one of them, but as a rule, they come in and want to make a difference, and it's up to us to foster that, to fan that flame, and to encourage that, and not let that get squashed, not let that go out. And I think that's the important part to take away from it, because they're going to learn different. They're going to have different attention spans. These kids we're hiring now, they've grown up with a tablet or phone in their face for the last. I mean, it's been around since 2007. That's almost 20 years. Like, they don't know what life is without it. They don't understand what life is. There's no concept of it. So it's a different set of values that they have. They've never not been able to know the facts on something within 2 or 3 seconds of picking up their phone and talking to their phone. They've never not had that world. And so instant gratification is just part of their value system. And if they can't have it now, they want to know why not. And that's something that we have to inculcate and incorporate and encourage within them to understand about the American Fire Service.
Well, through our career, I think 9/11 brought a lot of guys into the fire
Yeah,
service that maybe they came in and thought they were going to be FDNY, or came in for maybe I don't want to say for the wrong reasons, but not to focus on the citizen,
sure. No,
and
the fire service has gone through a massive identity crisis of who's the most important. Are we more important than the citizens? We're going through a massive identity crisis on that. I think it's been, for the most part, I think that the citizen has won, with things like firefighter rescue survey, but there's still places that still think that firefighters are more important than the citizens, but that's a whole nother debate that I won't beat up. But yeah, I think people know where I stand on it.
so what I'll say is the last 5 years, the young guys that have come in my department or even the other neighboring departments, these fellows are squared away. They get after it. They have the passion for the job. They're taking classes. They're wanting to get better. They do care about the citizen.
Yes.
So I've been extremely excited with this new crop, and it's always been my argument that you don't get a shitty new guy. You build that.
You
So if you
make a
got
shitty new guy.
bad
Yeah.
seniors, yeah, if you got bad seniors, then yeah, you're going to have bad new firefighters.
Oh,
But if
100%.
you're setting the culture of what it's going to be, they'll be whatever you tell them to be.
Yeah. No,
Whatever
they
you
just
force them to
they
be,
just
that's what they'll become.
young people coming into the job just want to fit in. And they will find out what makes them fit in. And if fitting in is, hey, how fast can we get in the recliners? How fast can we get the food on the table and sit in the recliners and watch the game? If that's what they'll fit into it. I promise you. They'll identify it quickly and fit in. And if the culture is, hey, we're going to take care of business. The most important thing is that rig check first thing in the morning. That's what we're going to do. And then being very good at this job. The second most important thing after that's done, we're going to train. Hey, once we've trained, once we put in the work, once we've done our fitness, now, hey, we earned it. Let's go relax. And that's a good thing. That's why it's a great job. So, but the
Absolutely.
priorities, man, you train them right. It's our job to not let them lose that passion. It's our job.
Yeah, and I don't know if y'all experienced this in Oklahoma, but in our area, we grew so fast and we started, adding positions and hiring guys on. So kind of the trend when I first came in is where, you're hiring up all your volunteers and now you have no volunteers.
Right.
And then because we, added so many positions, now we're running short and we're just taking anybody.
The
So
standard is lowered, and
so you standard drop and we're no longer building elite organizations with elite people.
no, not at all.
And so
We're building
when you're not doing that,
we're building average organizations, and that's not across the board. There are exceptions, but as a rule, this is what I'm noticing: is we build average organizations with people who could care less whether they are, they'll say stuff like, well, "I get paid the same whether I go to a fire or not," and that's not the mindset that I want to encourage. I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. So,
yeah, I think it's very dangerous.
no, without a doubt.
Um, if you're showing up on duty hoping that it doesn't, then you're not ready when it does.
No, and well, the other part of it is there is a lot of tactics that can be deemed dangerous, from vertical ventilation to vent inner search to searching ahead of the hose line. There's a lot of tactics that are that have an element of risk to them, and it's easy to point at those and say that's very, very dangerous, and it is if you are untrained. But there's a reason why we train, and there's a reason why we get $6,000 worth of gear so that we can go to an IDLH environment and give citizens, the citizens we swore to protect, give them a chance to see another day, right? There's a reason why people say thank you for what you do when you go to the restaurant. There's reasons why people give you a discount when you get your meal. There's a reason why people will pick up your check when you're out eating in your uniform. And it's because they expect you to come and save them when their house is burning and it's filled with smoke and it's off gassing, and they expect you to be in there coming through that window, grabbing their kids and getting out. But it's easy to say, hey, that's very dangerous and we're not going to do it. And then if you're not going to do it, why train on it? And that's the trap that you get into. And so it's like, well, we don't need to train on that because we're not going to do it. And so then if you do get into a point, you're not going to, I love the way Andrew Johnson said it the other day. He said, you're not going to, on the day of, open your shirt and there be an S there, twirl around and then turn into Superman and go make it happen. It's not going to happen.
You bring up a great point, and I talk about it a lot. You do have a lot of people in the fire service. I don't want to say a lot. You have people in the fire service that really don't want guys to go in on some fires.
Sure.
And yeah, and there's some that you don't.
We're not on a
on.
suicide mission. I'm not advocating suicide.
No.
If the room's flat, I'm not talking about climbing into a flash room and no, that's not what I'm saying. But there is searchable space. Get in there and verify that there's nobody in it. I don't want to step on you, but if your mindset is it's empty when we show up and we're looking for reasons to search, that's the wrong mindset. It is occupied until we figure out the occupiable spaces have been searched and we get it all clear.
Well, and here's my kind of my point on this is that I kind of hammer down on is you may go to a structure and if you know that nobody's in there, okay, that fire, I won't go in because nobody's there, but you would go in if somebody is. Then how are you prepared for that? If you never go in on those fires, how are you prepared?
That's a really good point.
It can't be the first time that I have this kind of fight in this kind of environment to go rescue somebody. Because that's an appetite for disaster.
I'm going to steal that, Will. I'm going to be using that. That's a good one.
Please do. And it's so I coach football, and a lot of my stuff is geared around football.
Right on.
But you can't expect somebody to perform on Friday night if you have never worked on it Monday through Thursday.
Right on.
And that's what we're putting ourselves in a position to do and hoping for success. And you're not going to find it.
No, you will not.
You're either going to lose the victim or lose the firefighters.
And you're going to fall to the level of your training. 100% each and every time. And fall is, if you're not prepared, is the word.
And I definitely agree with you and I think that's a good point of emphasis of the more you train on it, the less dangerous it becomes. The more prepared
it's the
you
antidote
are
for risk. It's the antidote for risk is we mitigate the risk by training, plain and simple. Like fires fires. I don't want to say, because you've heard the term all fires are different, but all fires are more alike than they are different. They have more in common than they do different. And so if you can eliminate the variables as much as possible, then you can control the outcome as much as possible. Now the fire still gets a vote. You can still do everything right and have a bad outcome. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But that's not a reason to not train and control as many variables, control the controllables, as many controllables as we can control, so that we give our citizens that we swore to protect the best shot on their darkest day. It's our best day. And that's what it comes down to.
Well, and you use a great phrase there, control the variables.
Yes.
And so if we can eliminate, if we've got 7 different critical factors and I can eliminate 6 variables, makes it pretty simple.
Oh yeah.
That I've only got one to deal with.
Yes, man.
Yeah, I know how this
100%, 100%, brother. And yeah, no, we could talk about this. You get me fired up. I'll get talking about it for a while. I'm going to read. Do you want me to read some of these that are coming up?
Please do. Yeah, you're in charge of those.
John R. I didn't know. John R. Smith said, Corley, in your travels to different parts of the country, what would you say stands out about the South Carolina Fire Service? Well, I will say Rick Dunn is my exposure to is the main connection, and so you can guess I love Rick, and so I bust Rick's chops. Yeah, he said be nice. No, I would say this, and please understand when I say this. As I travel, I usually when I speak, it's not voluntold training. So in other words, I don't show up and the people have to be there. The people that show up when I speak are people that want to be there, usually on their days off. usually because they're investing in themselves. And so what I get exposed to, no matter where I go, is the absolute best in the fire service, like the top 5 to 10%. So I have extremely rose tinted glasses when it comes to who I get exposed to. So when I go to South Carolina, it's no different. I'm blown away. I was blown away when I just came where I just came from. The it's the little things that you notice in a department. It's the flags that are hanging on the wall. It's the mottos. It's the language they use with each other. It's the busting of the chops, and then when it gets serious, what they get serious about, and it is knowledge about like large water droplets versus fog streams, and that's when you're getting into the weeds. So, and you know that someone's plugged in if they actually can reference uh, triple layers versus Minutemen, and they actually are passionate about it, not just because one is what they know or what they always do or they think it's better. It's when they're passionate about it. That's what I noticed, and there's a high degree of passion in the South Carolina Fire Service that I've been exposed to. So I don't want to sit there and say everybody's that way, but the ones I'm exposed to, again, high degree of passion.
Yeah, I think, and I kid these guys a lot, and that you have a strong flat bill following. So I call those young aggressive guys those flat bills.
The
You have a
flat bill
strong
following.
flat bill. Well, and I love their passion and love, and they are they want to be aggressive. They want to go out there and do the work, and they're the ones out there training too.
No, and
You know, those
they're
guys that
willing to
are
put in the
taking
work.
every
They
program they can.
they want to do the work, they're willing to put in the work. And there's a lot of people that want to do the work, but oh, it's actual work. I'd rather sit here at the kitchen table, No, that's okay. I'm good. All right, but they want to do the work. Second question from Charlie King says South Carolina Fire Service has some incredible young talent that needs to be heard. How do you encourage them to take the first step to share that talent by writing an article, starting a blog, or putting together a training class? Man, Charlie, that's a great question because I think that's one of the hardest things to do is put yourself out there, especially because in the fire service, we have a tendency to eat our own in our own departments. I promise you, you go to the Moore Fire Department right now, you'll find people who, I don't want to say hate Corley Moore. I don't think I have any, but I use the term haters. I have haters, not, they don't hate me. They're just haters. And so that's the hardest part is almost overcoming that initial inertia of what is my own people going to think? Because your own people are familiar with you. Your own people know your scars. They know your pimples. They know everything about you. They know, I love Kurt Isaacson when he used to say, when I was a baby, I used to shit my diapers, but then I grew up and I quit doing that. Right. And the thing is a lot of times
Then you get my age.
it's full circle. But there's a truth to it in the fact that sometimes the people you grew up around don't allow you to grow up and change. And like if people know my story, I was a very complacent firefighter in the middle of my career, like a very complacent firefighter, and that's before I discovered that my passion and love for this job. And so there's people that like to remind me of that all the time. Is you used to be the guy that said did nothing for an entire 24-hour shift, and I was that guy, and I own that. But I'm not that guy anymore. I grew up and quit shitting my diapers. So can I now walk around in my adult pants? But and that I think that's a big part of it. But no, doers do. Plain and simple. If you want to be a doer, do it. Write an article and submit it to fire engineering. Write an article and submit it to any. There's so many. The internet has so many places you can publish an article now. They are looking for good young voices. Like the fire service needs good, strong young voices that'll put stuff out there. Training class, put together a class. The American Fire Service does not, as a rule, have enough fire duty to rely on it to teach us. We need people who can translate what they know and teach it to others and that are passionate about doing so. And yeah, there's going to be people that try to put you down, try to slow you down, but doers do. Kill them with competence. Be so good at doing what you do, that's all they can do is hate. Kill them with competence. Write the article, put out the blog, build the class, and crush them with competence.
So if I could add on to that,
Go.
and me and Charlie just ate dinner a little bit ago, so he must be down in the dorms tuning in, which is
Gotcha.
awesome. So I think that when you're young like that, and not just when you're young, hell, I face it too. You am I worthy? Is the information I'm sharing worth sharing? Who wants to listen to me? And I
Absolutely.
think
The
there's a little
imposter.
bit of
Yeah. Sorry.
imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome is very real.
Um,
Who am I to tell people how to do this? I went to two fires, last year. Who am I to tell them how to stretch this hose? And that's a tough one. You know what I'm saying? If you're facing those demons. And the biggest thing is stay in your lane. Don't tell people you're a fire god if you went to two fires last year. Like tell them, listen, I did two fires last year, but this is what I know, this is what I learned from those fires. And this is what I will do on the next one and this is what I learned from people who went to 50 fires because I went to this conference. And this is what I learned from people who do work at Jobtown. And now I'm bringing it to you because guess what? Everybody you work with went to those same two fires. There ain't no fire gods there if you went to two fires. So if you went to a conference, guess what? You know more than them. Period. So I don't this whole thing of unless you work at Detroit or FDNY and you can't teach unless you work at those places. It's just the fire service ain't got room for it, man. We need people who will train, who will teach others, who will pass on knowledge, regardless of where they got it from. We just need them to share it. And if they're passionate about doing so, man, embrace it. Embrace it and encourage it. Now, stay in your lane. Don't pretend to be something you're not. I mean, you can't. You got to be honest about it.
and I also think it's important for guys that've been in the fire service for a while, if you're well known in your state, um, to be willing to vouch for these guys. When you see somebody who's teaching a good program, go out there and spread the word. And it's our responsibility to get these boys exposed. Because if we're not bringing them along, who's going to? And sometimes it's just as easy as going to whoever's putting these programs together at conventions and say, hey, so and so got a hell of a program, man. We need to get
Yeah,
him.
absolutely.
And I think just vouching for him will get that
No,
started.
100%, man. And that's the thing is we're so good at eating our own. We really are. We tear each other down rather than build each other up. And I know it's part of just human nature in general, but the fire service seems to be especially adept at it, especially when it comes to young people who are trying to and I say young, you got to realize I'm like a 50-year-old man and 28 years on the job. And so when I say young, I mean like a 10-year firefighter, who has a lot to bring and seen a lot, learned a lot, or insert whatever. I'm not even putting time frames on it.
So you build this program in your own department, and then you start teaching it more and more. I'm sure there were people from all over when you started hitting the circuit and kind of teaching, going further and further. Is what's this cowpoke from Oklahoma going to teach me? And
Absolutely.
and so
No,
yeah, so there's a lot of people in the fire service that have been here and kind of let it pass them by, but they're still hanging on. That just want to throw rocks and say, oh, what's he going to teach me? I already know it all. So it's our duty to make sure that these guys get exposure.
no, without a doubt. And James Steele brought up a good point. He said it's even more difficult when some of our fire service luminaries speak of how dare you listen to someone who doesn't go to thousands of fires. And I'm not down. I mean, if you've been to thousands of fires, man, I hope that you'll share your knowledge and share it willingly and share it awesomely. But the vast majority of the fire service doesn't do that. And I get, why someone would say, hey, it's I understand why they're protective of their whatever you want to call it, their fiefdom or whatever, their niche. But the fire service don't got room for it. It does not. We need to share. Knowledge is power. Shared knowledge is true power, and we got to share as much as we can. And that's why the scrap exists. Honestly, it was to talk to. Uh, honestly, I love talking to big names that everybody knows. That's awesome. It really is fun. And I love talking to someone from a state in a county, a fire district that no one even knows where it's from, but that guy's awesome, has earned the respect of the people around him. He teaches at the local conferences, and I love having that person on and sharing what they know and the feedback when they come on the show. And people are like, "Man, that dude you had on, he was amazing." Insert whoever, but they're not some giant, anybody knows their name, written 5 book, whatever. It's amazing, man. It really is the knowledge that is out there freely shared by the fire service. Don't be afraid. All it takes is being a doer. That's the hardest part is being a doer because it's hard.
Great question, Charlie.
Yeah, it was great comments, Jim, Charlie. I'm trying to see if there was any others. Rick, I think said that was all the questions. I think I saw one from Tian. Tian said, "Chief, read us two problems from that pile." Here you go. I'll just do this. I'll just grab
All right.
some of them. Hey, I promise you, there's nothing you haven't
Did
heard
one of
before. I'm just gonna
did
pick
one of them
some.
come from Tion?
Might have been. I'm just gonna grab one. I'm gonna try and not make a mess. Oh, All right, I'm just grabbing one. Here you go. A firefighter thinks he should be promoted based on. Sometimes I got to put up with firefighter handwriting, okay? Based on not taking. I can't read it, sorry. I have a captain who thinks he knows everything about anything, but really doesn't know. He doesn't attend training. He doesn't help with them or clean up or have any part of it. There are part timers now, new guys, all starting to see how he acts, and they think it's okay to do so. Anytime you bring any problem to him, he says it's not him, and we need to check our feelings. So that's the kind of problems that I've collected like 200 of. But honestly, does that sound like a problem you've seen before in the fire service? You got a checked out captain who refuses to take accountability or responsibility for his stuff, and it's starting to affect people he's responsible for. Does that sound familiar to anybody's organization anywhere? And that's the thing that I've noticed as I've collected them is that these problems are the same problems everywhere, and they all come from the same set of circumstances. And if I ever do finish that class slash book, whatever it is ends up being, it's going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I would think that most people listening probably work for that captain. I mean, it's that
it's
common
a,
of a problem.
it's such a common problem, man. So, but yeah, there are, Wayne Jones said it. There are so many hidden gems in the fire service. And there are a ton of hidden gems in the fire service. What's our
Now,
next
for those
topic?
young, well, I just want to hit on, for those young guys that are out there and they're building these training programs for their local area, local department, whatever. Um, if that's where you're making a difference right now, cool, make it there. And then as that word gets out, it'll grow. Um, uh, don't aspire to be out there to be out there. If you have a great program, then it's a great program. It'll find its way.
You will never have a bigger impact than you do in your own department. Period. I don't care how big you get in the social media sphere or on the circuit or anything like that. You will never have a bigger impact than you do in your department with the relationships you have with the people you work with. Plain and simple. And that's where you should focus your energy, and that's where you should build your programs for and write your articles based around. Now, that doesn't mean that again, I'm 100% for sharing and growing, like, and getting it out there. And Will makes a great point. If it has value, people will find it. Like one of the
So
most.
you made an interesting.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no, no.
I was just going to say you had an interesting statement, which would surprise me a little, where you said there was a little bit of your career where you had a lull.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no,
and and
100%.
um, and I think that there are many people in the fire service that happens to. Now, very few find their way out of that. A lot of times, it's a spiral down to where it's either pushes them out of the fire service,
Checked out till they
or
check out. Yeah.
possibly the captain that you read the note
Mm-hmm.
about, turns into that guy. Um, so what changed in far as your purpose in the fire service to kind of bring you out of
Well,
that?
a few things. Because first of all, I've always loved being a firefighter. Like I love it. I think it's the coolest job on the planet. So I really do. Like that's even when I wasn't connected to our mission and them and everything like that. Even when I was complacent, I still loved being a fire. I still loved going to fires. I lived for it. Now that being said, the culture I grew up in was you won. And when I say this, when I tell this story, it's not a knock on the people that came before me, although it seems like I'm being derogatory about them. They fought a different battle than I did. They fought a battle to make the department where I worked have decent competitive pay, have decent rigs that actually ran and didn't break down on fires, to get gear, to get stations built. They fought a different battle so that when I showed up, all that stuff was in place. And then, I could look around and go, "Hey, you guys don't do anything here," and judge them, and that burned a lot of bridges. It really did. I caused some damage, but the culture was because they'd won that fight. The culture was, "Hey, we get paid the same whether we go to an emergency or whether we sit at the station." And you won your career if you could get assigned. Not everybody. I don't want to paint with the brush that paints. There were exceptions to this, but the culture was, whoever got to the slowest station assigned there, they won. They had won their career, and that's where you wanted to be. right? And the least you could do in the day, then you won. And that I was a part of that. I was in that. That's what I grew up in. And it was, I actually, what changed that for me was I always love fires. Okay. And I always tell this story, which is I worked on my days off for one of our chiefs who mowed the properties in the city that were overgrown. So it was like a terrible job, like nasty, 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 overgrown yards. We'd have to go mow them with these monstrosities of uh, mowing machines. But I was driving around a hot Oklahoma day, and the guy I was with was a lieutenant at the time. And I was a rookie. I was a very young rookie, and he looked at me and said, "Hey, why you want to be a firefighter?" Because I was brand new. We were just having small talk, and I said, truth. I said, man, I've always wanted to be a firefighter since I was like a kid. I think it's one of the coolest things on the planet. And he's like, "Oh, you're one of those." Right? I still remember him saying that to me to this day. Now he was really just busting my chops. Okay. He really, but it, it hit me. And this is the effect that I want everybody who listens to this understand. Your words have a massive impact on those young people. So when he said, "Oh, you're one of those," I was like, "No, no, I'm not one of those. No, not at all. What are you talking about? I don't want to be one of those, whatever those are." You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that interaction changed my trajectory where I was like, "No, I don't care about this job. This is just a job. This is, I'm going to work on my days off and make money. And this is just a job I show up to. And that was a mindset I had forever. And I don't blame him because there's nothing erases my personal choices. So I want to be clear on that. It's my responsibility to own myself. But I remember seeing Mark Von Oppen. Brian Brush brought Mark Von Oppen in to teach at the leadership symposium, and I got to see Mark Von Oppen speak. And when I tell this story, it's like, that really had that big of an impact on you? No, it was like when I heard him speak, it was like someone had, like the proverbial like bright light from heaven was shining down, and angels were singing like, "Oh," because it was literally like, holy crap, you can be good at this job, you can love being good at this job, and be proud of it. And it was like, and I say that now and it sounds stupid, but to me it was like, and I said, I am going to be like Mark Von Oppen. I'm going to do what he does. I'm going to travel around and speak and talk about this stuff. And that was the start of it. I didn't say that out loud. It was just in my head. You know what I'm saying? And that was the start. That changed my career. And so I went from being a complacent, love going to fires. I was always athletic and worked out. So I never really got super like just out of shape. So it wasn't like I was that side of things. So, but I went from being complacent to very plugged in and saying, "Holy smokes, all of this matters." And that's when everything started changing, because I started figuring out so much. Once the light shines down, and there's no going back to the darkness.
So in your organization, the culture was being all in wasn't a great thing.
No, no, it was mocked. It was mocked and belittled. 100%. No, and I know that. And again, they were good dudes that had fought a different fight. They had fought to get, there was a time at my department where before I got there, like if you got your paycheck on Friday, you raced to the bank against the other firefighters and against the rest of the city employees so you could cash your check before, because if you were one of the last ones to cash it, it may bounce. So they fought to get us to be one of the most respected places to work in the state. That was a battle they fought, and they did a good job of it. But it also meant that other stuff was not things they cared about as much, training and culture and things like that, because they'd fought another battle and won it. And so the next generation had to carry on that fight. And that was my generation that needed to come in and move that.
So at that point, you didn't realize that there were like-minded people out there that thought
No.
like you did, and that so to go find those is what really hit the light. They say, "Hey,
Oh,
man,
brother,
these guys
I'm
are
telling
thinking
you,
what I'm thinking."
Brian Brush says it best. Once you get outside the walls of your fire department, you realize that the fire service has no walls. And it's a powerful place to be, because it doesn't, man. The fire service is amazing, filled with amazing people. But no, I was so siloed. Like I thought everybody, because we went to 5-man staffing in 2007. I thought everybody in the country went to 5-man staffing, 4-man minimum, but 5-man on the rigs, and I'm like, oh,
Right.
that's not everywhere. Cause that was just what I knew, so I thought everybody had a second and third due that came in 2 minutes, 3 minutes after, right. Boom, boom. I thought everybody had a hydrant in their front yard, because that's the world I came from. And I thought you don't know what you don't know until you get outside the walls of your department.
Yeah, so it was good in two ways. One, you found people with like minds and found out that everybody don't have 5-man engine companies. I'm gonna tell you.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. I was like, what do you mean you have two? What do you mean one person shows up? I like don't understand. So, but I've
Yeah,
learned a
they
lot. I've learned a lot in the last few years.
well, and that was great uh, that you brought that up because I think there's probably a lot of people out there that don't know that there's like-minded people.
Right.
Now, in fairness, most of the people that tune in here today, they're not in that situation.
Right.
But I guarantee you, there's 8 or 9 in their department that are.
Right. Absolutely. No, it's yeah. No, it's throughout America, every department. Career
Um,
volunteer combination. I guarantee you.
yeah, and I think that we need to kind of look at it as we can still save these guys. We just got to get in there.
No, I absolutely the fire is still inside of them. It's just like a bank down campfire. It's just those gray coals. They just need some oxygen. Just need some
That's it.
oxygen blown on it, man, and they can flare back up. Right on.
Now, so early on, we were talking about book a search, and
Right.
now you're new into work a search. Um, but there's also challenger leadership.
Right.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about challenging your leadership?
Right. That was the original one I wrote that was designed for people who didn't like to read. That was the really bad plan. And there's 100 challenges in it. And I tell everybody who buys the book, when I'm out teaching someone to buy the book, and I'll say, listen, if you do all 100 challenges, please let me know. Please contact me and let me know. And I sold hundreds of copies of the book as I've been out traveling and things like that. I don't say it when they buy it on Amazon or if they order it, but and when I meet them in person, I tell them that. So I've told hundreds of people that, and no one to this date has ever let me know that they've done all 100 challenges. I'm not saying someone hasn't done it. I'm sure someone has, but no one's ever let me know. And so I'm still waiting for that person to let me know they finished all 100 challenges.
Well, when you hear challenger leadership, it almost has a negative connotation.
No, it's intentional. Like I wanted people to say, "What's this book about? What do you mean? I need to
Yeah.
challenge my admin. I need to that was intentional. I wanted to be, I don't want to say provocative, but I wanted people to say, "What's this about?" And but it is really about challenging yourself. It's challenging your leadership of yourself. And now whether it hits that mark or not, I think it's a great book. It's very simple read because I don't want to call it a devotional, but that's almost what it is because each page is just a short 200 word essay on insert, listening, communication, respect, just 100 topics, 100 topics. And originally it was designed like I did the math and said, okay, every firefighter pretty much works 120 days a year. And if you take out their vacation and holidays, then they hit around 100 and let's just call it 100 days. So that's the reason I made 100 challenges. So you read one per shift throughout the year. And so you finish it up at the end of the year. That's kind of the plan around it.
Now, so not that it's a theme, but I see it as a theme. So that's the way I'm going to word it.
Sure.
Is that a lot of things that you put out have a lot to do with looking inside yourself and
Oh, yeah.
what you're doing, who you are, and working on self before you start worrying about fixing everybody else. You got to fix yourself first.
I'm a highly introspective person. So very, very, very introspective. In fact, the book that changed my life was Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen
Okay.
Covey. And he talks about the sphere of influence, the sphere of concern. And there's a lot of things that are in your sphere of concern that you have no influence over. But if you focus on your sphere of influence, then over time it'll grow and it can grow big enough to affect those things that are in your concern. But if anything you spend outside of that influence, if you spend your energy out here, you're wasting your energy. And I'm huge on that. And so I always say clarity is concept one. Clarity is concept one. And I say that to my guys at work would get so tired of me saying that to them. But it's just the truth is you have to have clarity of what you're trying to accomplish. Because if you don't have clarity, you can't move forward. And you can't identify the obstacles that are stopping you. But if you have clarity, you can. So that's always what I'm trying to do is figure out the clarity. And the biggest obstacle for all of us, and I believe this with all my heart and soul, is the dude in the mirror. The person in the mirror is each one of our own worst enemies each and every time. And if you can, and no one beats them like that. I think that's the never ending fight, honestly. But if you can continue the struggle against that person to master that person, then you can become a very, very effective person. But
and yeah, so one of my sayings how I keep my sanity. I worry about the things that I can influence. I worry
Right?
about the things I need to worry about.
Control the
Anything that I can't
controllables.
really influence, yeah, I don't mess. I don't worry about it because you'll go insane doing
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Not only, well, it's not just that you'll go insane. It's the lack of effect on it that will drive you insane because
Right.
you can't affect it. Like if you don't have control over it and you try to affect it, you're literally that's almost the definition of insanity. It's not you're not going to change it. So, but a lot of us get trapped in those loops of putting energy into things we can't control. And when you do that, you are wasting your energy. And each of it, and that's the second, my second concept is energy is finite. Each one of us only gets so much energy. And however you want to, I say energy, but you can call it whatever you want, time, influence, whatever. But I say energy because if you don't identify where to spend your energy, you will waste it. You will waste it.
And I don't know many people that turn down influence or don't want influence and say, yeah, I don't want to influence that. So I think there's always guys out there that want more influence, more say, more whatever. But there's nothing that you're going to be involved with in anything that you're going to have more influence over than yourself.
Oh, that's
So
powerful.
why
Yeah.
don't we why don't we spend a lot more time trying to influence that?
I think the biggest issue is you have to be intentional about doing it. It doesn't happen on accident. If you don't, life is life, and life will smack you around, and life will make you think that you're spending your energy in a good way. If you're not intentional and deliberate about saying, no, I need to work on myself. And so again, yeah, we can fool. I tell you, one of my favorite sayings is there's the most powerful force in this world is self-deception because we can convince ourselves of a lot of things in our minds and we control our mind. We can, our mind, the better you master yourself, the less you let your mind control you, if that makes sense. And I'm very introspective is the longest answer to a short question. And so most of my stuff is all about self mastery and focus.
Well, yeah, I usually don't walk around quoting Matthew McConaughey, but he won some award for some show or something like that. And great speech. He talks about who's he chasing, who's he trying. And so he talks about he's chasing me in 5 years, you know, and I'll never get there because my vision of who I'm going to be in 5 years, I chase that, and then in 5 years I'm still chasing who I'm going to be in 5 years. Um, yeah, normally, I think McConaughey's pretty cool. I just don't usually quote him very much, but I thought that speech was right on the money. And when you start looking at it introspectively like that, is don't worry about everybody else. Get a picture of the man you want to be, the firefighter you want to be, the
Oh
father you want to
yeah.
be, the husband you want to be, and you chase that every
Oh
day.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then and you keep that 5 years out. You'll never catch him, but you can always chase it.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, all right, all right. That's my
All right,
McConaughey
all
quote.
right, all
All right, all right, all right. No, absolutely. I love McConaughey. His Green Lights is phenomenal. Listen, because I
right.
listened to it on Audible.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wasn't going to go into that, but it is a great book.
yeah, it really is. I haven't read it, so I don't want to lie because I listen to a lot of books on Audible. I read every day, but I listen to that one, and so no, it's a great one.
So it's a great listen because he reads it.
Rick says, "Tell
So it's a
Will, let's wrap it up." So Will's giving us the hook, just so you know. Ben Crenshaw had one question, which was, "How would you suggest that you get those who are hearing about to buy back into the job?" So how do you? This is $1 million question. It's a great question, Ben. To get people to buy back into the job, I firmly believe everybody still has a connection to the job. I really do. I don't think anybody's so far gone that they can't get bought back in. The thing that you have to realize is anybody that has, and this is a lot, we could talk about this for the next 2 hours. So please, I'll go really fast, which is anybody who is in that position, that complacent guy. I'm not talking about being a dick. Okay. There's a difference between a guy that's being a dick at the firehouse. I'm talking about the guy that's checked out, doesn't think training is important. And, a lot of people point at him and say, man, he used to be into the job, but some stuff happened, blah, blah, blah. How he got here, I don't know. I'm talking about that guy. And that guy is, it's just vital that you realize that for him to be where he's at, there was a company officer. If we're talking about firefighter level, whatever level we're talking about, but if it's a firefighter that's checked out like that, there is a company officer, there's a battalion chief, there's a district chief, and there's a fire chief that did not do their job that allowed him to drift to that place. That allowed him to drift to that place. Now that doesn't mean and make it okay. But that means now we got to peel back the layers and say, okay, how was he allowed to get here? How was he allowed to get here in this organization? And that's, like I said, a 2 hour conversation. But if you can actually get, because people, I firmly believe this, people just want to feel valued, heard, and understood. They want to feel valued, heard, and understood. And if people are valued, heard, and understood, and I mean really, not lip service, but actually valued, heard, and understood in their organization, they'll give you the shirt off their backs. They'll give you every bit they got if they feel valued, heard, and understood. So, and that's a very short thing. So make them feel valued, heard, and understood. I promise you that checked out firefighter feels like he is shouted into the wilderness and nothing was done, and he wasted his energy, and now he's checked out because that's the only way to survive. And again, we could go into it for a good 2 hours of breaking down each individual nuance of that. But that's very broad strokes. 2 minute answer.
All right. So Charlie has asked Corley, your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love this question. I've answered it. I've answered it before, and I'm not sure I will answer it the same as I've answered it before. I will say Mark Von Oppen because of the sheer impact he had on me in my young, not young, he on Firehouse Vigilance would not exist without Mark Von Oppen. So number one on there would be Mark Von Oppen. Number two, which I did not realize this. So last time I answered this, I don't think I put him on there, but I'll put him on there right now. It's Dave McGrail, and the reason I put him on there is because I got to see Dave McGrail speak in like 2016. And I still have the piece of paper where I wrote down so many notes from him, but he did a presentation called Are You Into the Job? And I took so many notes from that. Now, here's the reason I put him on there is because last year, Dave McGrail came to Oklahoma City and he did the presentation, Are You Into the Job? And I took my son and we went together and I watched that presentation and I said, holy shit, this guy had so much impact on me that I did not even realize from that presentation in 2016. And so it was one of those eye-opening moments where I was like, I did not realize the impact he'd had until I saw the class again and said, I took so much stuff from him that I've been, so Mark Von Oppen, Dave McGrail, Kurt Isaacson, I put him on the Mount Rushmore. That his passion for speaking, and again, the first time you see Kurt speak in person, and you're like, holy smokes, you can care about the job this much, and then the final one, which is I don't think I'll ever change it, Andy Fredericks, because his writings absolutely had such an impact on me. The book of Andy, when I first discovered it, was part of my journey. So, yeah. Those again. I probably answered it different than the last time. I'm leaving people out because I need to have like 20 people to put on my Mount Rushmore, from Scott Thompson to Brian Brush, and I keep adding names, and I'll quit now because I'll leave people off. It's a great question.
Yeah. So if Corley mentioned anybody that you really don't know a ton about, read up on them, figure it out. Figure out why it meant so much to Corley. Um, so I've got some announcements to make. If I don't, Brooke is going to cut my throat. So it's Improvement Conference, January 22nd through the 25th. Most of your hot classes are sold out. But there's still some spaces available. I know there's some space available for some classes. Might not be hot, but I know there's some Sundays that are available for hot classes. Fire Rescue, June 10th through the 13th. Golf tournaments on June 10th. And Fire Officer Academy applications June 1st. Right now we have a group doing assessments. And so the next batch will be June 1st. Corley, if you would, pitch your book, pitch your podcast.
Weekly Scrap every Tuesday. Tune in live on YouTube. Firehouse Vigilance. Just look for us. Man, I'm biased, but it's a really good podcast. It's not because of me. It's because the guests are amazing. They really are. And then the audience that tunes in is amazing. It's live, and they ask questions live, and the guest answers the questions. I just kind of stand there and smile. And, I'd say I stand there and look sexy, but I don't think that part's true. So, but it's great. The main thing I'd pitch is the Vigilantes. It has grown into something bigger than I ever dreamed of. And you can find it at patreon.com/the Vigilantes. And it's a really kick-ass thing. If you want to find people who feel like you do and connect with them, like these problems, the stack of problems that I was holding up today, we went live on the Discord and talked about those problems for like 2 hours, and it was a lot of fun digging into like details of them, and it was a good time, and people got value out of it. So anyway, Man, I can't say thank you enough for having me on, man. I enjoyed the
Oh man,
conversation.
I appreciate you being here. I mean, I appreciate you being part of our South Carolina family. And it was a blast. I mean, Rick told me to wrap it up before I even knew how much time we
Dude,
put into
that
this. So
that flew by.
great
Like
time.
I looked at the clock and I was like, "Holy smokes, that flew by." So,
Well,
thanks,
so I
Brooke.
thank everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Jive.
Thanks for having me. South Carolina, thanks for having me.